And I was kind of like backed into a corner to where like I didn't really have a choice. My visa was up, and I kind of had to basically move back to Australia, which my family was super supportive. Like they obviously wanted me to come home, but they wanted me to do what I wanted to do. But they were like, "Yeah, come home, like get on your feet." And so, yeah, I decided to come home. But I think they knew that I really didn't want to come back, and I kind of had some unfinished business. And so, I ended up booking a ticket. But at that time, I can't remember the exact numbers, but they had caps coming into Australia each week because of COVID. So that was when you had to do the 2-week quarantine. And I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe it was like 300 people a week is all that they were letting into Australia. So with that, you can imagine how expensive the plane ticket's going to be if they're only letting. I ended up being an outrageous amount of money. But yeah, bit the bullet, bought the ticket, and then so I had my ticket home, and I ended up going out with my college friends like one last time, just a bit of a celebratory goodbye kind of thing. And I wake up the next morning after going out, and my friend texted me and he said, "Oh, I'm not feeling too good." And I'm like, "Yeah, you probably hungover, mate." And then the next day he texted me, he said, "Oh, I've just tested positive for COVID." And I'd spent a lot of time with this person, a lot of time around him. And so sure enough, I went and got my COVID test and it came back positive. But the flight was only 3 days later. So I just tested positive for COVID. There's absolutely no chance I'm going to be able to get on this flight. And I've paid all this money. So I ended up having to rebook the flight. But because of those caps on the 300 people coming into the country, I had the flight was about 8 or 9 weeks later. So I had to stay in the US another 2 months, which is fine. Obviously I was happy to stay and just hang out. But so I get back to training and getting back to workouts and stuff like that, because I planned to compete once I got home back to Australia. And 6 or 7 weeks goes by, and my now manager and coach Stephen Haas, just out of the blue, just sends me a message, and he's like, "Hey, like, do you want to jump on the phone, like, chat about something?" So obviously, I get on the phone. He's like, "Oh, look, like we think we've got an opportunity out here in Flagstaff. Like, do you want to come out and visit?" And so, like, literally 2 days later, he booked me a ticket to fly out to Arizona, meet the team. Like, it was just an unreal experience. Like, I got in, and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna have to share a room he's got a really nice place, but you're gonna have to share a room with someone." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Yeah, someone's here training at the moment," and it was Nat Centrowitz. And so I'm like sharing upstairs, and I'm just like, literally like a week ago, like I just didn't know what the future was gonna hold. And yeah, he showed me around Flag and talked about the potential of me coming out there. And then I went back to Illinois, and we just like sorted out the details. And then I think a couple more weeks had went by, and I was like out living in Flag, like on the team, like signed my contract, and then like wasn't coming home anymore. So yeah, I feel like you hear a lot of negative stories and outcomes of COVID, but that was one where I definitely got lucky. And it's funny too, because like a lot of people probably think like, "Oh, well, he would have got in contact with you if you're in Australia," and like that's probably true. But at the same time, like, he could have sent me that text message, and I'm not going to have my US number, so I'm not going to get it. And if I don't reply within a couple of days, he's probably just going to go on to the next guy who, like, like a lot of talented guys out there. Like, I was nothing special. He obviously took a bit of a bet on me. And so, like, yeah, I like to think that if I didn't get COVID, it probably wouldn't have worked out the way it has. So very lucky in the end.